Welcome to the Never Been Promoted podcast and YouTube channel. I'm on a mission to help you cut the time to all the things that are holding you back so you can unleash your entrepreneur. Hey, welcome back to Never Been Promoted. I almost promoted a company from like 8 years ago or 18 years ago. I almost said that. That was weird. Hi, Thomas Helfrich here, your host of Never Been Promoted. We're here to help entrepreneurs break through, cut the tide, all the crap that's holding them back, make them great at entrepreneurship. We're joined today by another guest, Chris Prefontaine, wicked smart. He's like, these guys like know real estate. They've been through the ends of it, the bad of it, and the good, and coming out. And his story is amazing of just perseverance of how he during the real estate crash in 2007, 2008 has figured out a way to not only make money but make money for others. So listen up. You're going to hear this really soon here in a second. Listen, your first time here, I love it. Get out there, learn how to cut that tie to excuses that you're making, fears you're holding on to. That's what we're all about. If you get a minute out there, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel, hit the little bell so you can hear when we go live. We do some other stuff as well. And if you'd like to connect with me, go to linkedin.com/n/Thomas Helfrich to get on the show, complain about the show. And if you're listening to it, if you guys don't mind, 5-star reviews for the podcast help the community and the guests. Let me bring the stages. Chris, how are you doing today up there in the Northeast?
I am awesome. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate it. Maybe just to start off, right? Quickly, you're in New England, right, area. What is something you do? What's something you should just never do up there?
Yeah, come to New England. You got to have seafood, even if you think you don't like it, because it's a great experience. And if you come to New England, you go near Cape Cod, please do not go to the historic tours because you will be bored to tears. I
thought you were going to say just don't be a Yankees fan. We should be fine. But
that'd be good too.
That's a good one. That's a good solid advice of the do and not do all in one statement. I'm from St. Louis originally, so it's Cardinals. You can at least accept it. We had some nice exchanges back in the early 2000s for World Series, but we'll table that one for another day. You want to set up what you're working on today? Is a 4-time best-selling author, a real estate expert. You've been through the shit and out of it, and come out even better as a top company in Inc. 5000. Take the floor. Talk about what you're doing and back up a little bit on, of how you got there.
Yeah. So I'll go from, you said this shit. So I'll go from the crash of 08, because I've been in real estate for 33 years. So 08, I was about whatever it was, 18 years in at that point. That taught me a lot of lessons because when I came out of the crash, when I went into the crash, I had money, I had credit, and I was bankable. When I came out of the crash, I was in the hole. I had my credit in the toilet and I wasn't bankable. So I said, all right, if I'm going to get back into real estate, and it took me 4 years to get out of my own way, out of my own head mentally to do this, there are going to be some new rules here because that was not fun. And the new rules were no more signing on bank loans ever, no matter what, even for your personal property, unless you absolutely have to be somewhere and you need that area. Never putting down gobs of cash, and making sure every time we do a deal, we don't get paid once, because it's like a job. It's like a treadmill. Do a deal, get paid. Do a flip, get paid. Instead, we trademarked the 3 paydays, which allows any entrepreneur doing real estate deals the way we do it to get paid up front. Great. That's what you're used to. Get paid over time and then get paid long term. That's a good business model for anyone. So that's what we do now. We do it all over North America. We buy our own property still, but we teach others to do it. And we don't just sell them stuff and sell them a product. We actually get in the trenches and do the deals with them.
Yeah, you guys go end to end. You don't just say, here's a digital course, good luck. Right. Or a seminar.
That's what's out there. I mean, you say it facetiously, but that's what's out there now, unfortunately. Yeah. They market you like you're going to get rich tomorrow. We don't do it. I might not be a great marketer, but I know how to do deals. And that's what we do with the students.
I mean, listen, from a differentiator, knowing that I have a mentor to take me through the first one, and I didn't realize that you guys did the get paid 3 times. So explain that one to me, because I'm sure that's when I perked up. I'm like, you can get paid 3 times from a deal. I didn't even realize that was possible. So go ahead. Floor is yours on that one.
I used to get, like, January would come literally and I'd go, I'd bum out. I'd be like, I got to do the same volume to get to the same income. And so it's very transactional. And so people leave their job and they go into wholesaling or flipping and they think that's going to be their own business. Well, you just picked up another job, albeit maybe more lucrative. So the 3 paydays are, we exit all our properties, almost all, for the sake of our short time here, on a rent to own. And a rent to own is just taking a buyer who deserves a house, just can't get a loan yet. Not a wannabe, they're renting a wannabe, but a real true buyer that needs time because they changed jobs or they started their business and the bank won't finance them yet. So payday 1, they come in with a down payment. That's yours. Payday 2, you're paying something on the underlying debt or to the seller if you're doing owner financing. And I'm going to get something higher than that from my buyer who's in that house on a rent to own before they get financing. There's a delta. So we keep that. And then the third payday is really cool because the third payday is all of the principal pay down throughout the term of the deal, like any other note, it'll go down in any markup. So let me give you some metrics to wrap that up, and I can go back to it if you want. 45 grand low, 350,000 high. That's the range in the Wicked Smart community of how much profit can come out of 3 paydays per deal. So they're pretty lucrative deals. I like got to go and do 20 of these, right? Most people,
right.
It's suffice with 2 or 3 or 4 or 10.
So let me say, so let's just from a math standpoint, let's say you got a property. Let me start like this. I want to sign up for your program, right? And take me through a deal where like we're going to go get $100,000 house, and what happens after that? Just because 100,000 might make it easier for me to understand the math. so I got no money. I've got no credit. I'm where you were, and I'm starting out. What do I do? What happens?
Let me give you a real deal because it's 183. Is that okay? 183 grand.
I mean, I will try my best, though. I think you're adding prime numbers now, and I'll accept.
Okay, I'll do 180. So here's what we did. I'm gonna go with free and clear sellers, because free and clear sellers comprise about 1/3 of their properties in the United States, and it's one of 3 ways we buy.
So somebody owns a property, no mortgage, basically.
Yeah,
got it.
It's a great pool to fish in, so to speak. So we went in, my son and I, we bought the home for 183.9, I think it was. We put no money down, and we structured monthly principal only payments of $923. Most of these are principal only, no interest. So side note, think about that with the rates the way they are. So we go out and we find a buyer who needs time. We installed them in the house. They put 15 grand down. This was an older deal. It never would take that little now, but I'm going to be real with this deal. That's what it was. 15 grand was our payday one. Average now is closer to like 28. They paid us $1,500 a month. Remember, we're paying the seller $923. So payday one, 15 grand, payday two, delta between 923 and 15. Now here's the kicker. $923 a month times 4 years is a lot of money. It's like 40 something grand, right? If I do my math, 48 would be 1,000. So payday three ended up being the 40 something plus the markup on the property, because we sold it for like 230 or whatever it was. And we bought it for 180 something. That deal became about $120 something thousand deal. Now, most people think that they go, wait a minute, you bought it for 183.9 and you profited one something on it? Yes, because of the nature of the 3 paydays and the powerful principal pay down. Yes.
I get that. So when you're the biggest piece is that is finding a property. It didn't have to be, well, because it has to be mortgage free to be able to encumber it, right? In your own.
For that one, we buy other ways too, but for the sake of the show and the shortness here, yes, owner financing free and clear is my favorite.
Well, yeah, I mean, because then, but you just got to find a buyer that doesn't need a lump of cash. They're okay taking an annuity, like almost approach to it. They can say, hey, we're going to pay you this every month. If we default, obviously you get the house back.
Yeah.
You go in, you find a lease to own buyer. They put a down payment that's non-refundable. It is truly a down payment if they can make all their payments. And then they're paying a lease, but it's with a principal percentage. The principal goes back over to what you owe the person you bought it from. And so now you've reduced the 183 owed to one minus 47,000 or whatever that number ends up being over that period of time. And you've already pre-sold it for 230, or is it sold at market value at the later date?
No, good question. We sell it then for a markup. Yeah, we pre-sell it because we're locking in the tenant buyers. Think of the benefit for them is, wow, I was going to be a renter. Now I can lock in a price and I can behave and act like and capture equity like a buyer. That's cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And they can choose to walk. They just lose their 15. And then you've also paid down to the seller equity, and you can go find another one and go do repeat it again.
Correct. Now, you said something interesting, because a lot of educators teach that, hey, who cares if they get cashed out? That may be okay for them legally, but morally and ethically it's bogus. Our goal is to get them cashed out, right? Get them to the finish line, have a successful transaction. Yeah. That's always our goal.
Does it ever come up where the seller's like, hey, you have 4 years and then you're going to have to sell it? Like you're going to have to pay it out?
Yeah. I mean, they hold us to the date.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like in 4 years, you're writing me a check for the remaining on.
No matter what, we're doing that. I know once, and it was in Pennsylvania with a student, it wasn't us. There was a gentleman that we needed some more time with the buyer. So we said, look, we're not going to kick him out. Will you give us an extension? He said, no. It was the only time we ever had to. We didn't have to, but to do what we said we were going to do, we had to go out and raise private money and pay off the seller. It's the only time we ever did it. Now, we could have said, pound sand, take your house back, because we're not on it personally. But again, morally and ethically, it wouldn't be the right thing. So one of our values is conduct all transactions with the highest integrity. And so we live by that. That's what we did.
I mean, there's situations where it may not work. You can't raise money. You're like, well, sorry, I
right.
tried.
Right.
But when you're paying the seller, and that lives around $1,000 a month in that example, right? Included in that's principal only. They don't get any interest for that.
No, that's like 99% of the deals we do, because most of them that are free and clear want their price. It's like a ego thing, whatever you want to call it. They want their price. They don't want to report the interest income. They'd rather capture on the price and deal with capital gains only, and then deal with it over time. So a lot of them will do it for estate reasons, tax reasons, planning.
Otherwise, you would, if they asked for that interest in addition to it, you would just build it into your model. And
sure. Yeah, I did a office building once. It was our own building. I've since sold it, but he said principal only. He was pretty savvy. He was one of the largest landowners in the area. So I said, yeah, and he wanted interest. So what we did is 18 months of principal only. So I got my way. Then at the end of the 18 months, we took what was left and we amortized it with a 5.2% interest rate, and he was happy. So that was a hybrid deal, but it was a win-win.
Yeah, and then you're also incentivized at that point too to find a lease-owned person in an 18-month. Hey, you need to convert it.
Yeah, well, in that case, it was different. It was unique because it was our offices, and we had tenants, and we had our own companies in there. So he's a little unique. Yeah.
But you could do this with a commercial property then too, not just residential.
That was a mixed-use building. It was very lucrative for us. Yeah.
Yeah, I bet. And so in your current business, you're doing deals, but you're also doing coaching, so or consulting or some type of hand holding through this. Do you help them with just the first, and talk about that program for someone who would be? I'm interested in something like that because there's. I'm not that I'm against using banks, but one of the reasons we don't do real estate at all is that I just don't want to deal with the risk that goes with it. Like people think it's low risk. It's not. They can come after everything to get it. Yeah. So I get what your perspective is. So how does that work? The
there's different levels. So we have a group coaching. I'm going to go from the simplest up to the more advanced. We have a group coaching program where people meet once a week. Now they have access to other group calls as a community, but their private calls once a week. Nothing much goes on in between that 90-day program where they're meeting once a week. So that really gives them a chance to figure out, do they want to get more aggressive with this, or do they want to go off on their own and do it? And that's great too. The other 3 programs are a little bit more aggressive. They're where we do deals with them. And I'm talking about like calls to sellers, calls to buyers, whatever we need to do. One program is 18 months. So if they do 2 deals or 22 during that time, we rev share on those deals. One is 24 and one is 36. The 36 one is the one where I work with the more higher level aggressive people, and we get after it. We do deals together, create some really cool stories.
How do you guys provide them the resources of where to go find these deals? Because it's anybody can mine gold. You just gotta know where the gold lines are, right? Like, so how do you? Not anybody can mine gold. You still need some tools, but
our resource center gives them everything, literally. So here's your lead provider, and they pick their radius of geographic, and leads come to them, and then we teach them how to obviously talk to sellers, and then scripts, checklists, forms, agreements, everything. So from the talk to the seller to all the way to the agreements, and then another whole section to how to deal with buyers, which my son has mastered and helps with that in the community.
So what do you do? Do you ever approach a deal where they maybe have a very small mortgage left, and then just you're like, hey, we'll pay that off, good property, whatever else comes off of what the principal would be, you owe it, and you're pre-fronting some equity?
We usually don't pay it off, so that switches to what we'd call a bit of a hybrid deal. That would be a subject to deal. So subject to buying someone's home, subject to the existing mortgage when you're buying someone's home. So if I buy your home and you sell to me for $300 and you have $100,000 mortgage on it, so we agree, hey, there's $200,000 equity here. I'm going to protect all that for you. That's going to be, we purchase a home, the loan stays in your name. We purchase a home subject to the existing loan staying in your name, and we give you a second for your equity. No payments, no interest till some year in the future. Could be 3, 4, 5. Typical.
Oh, so you have a note that's not congruent, but you put a second, you
to
put
protect
a
their
second
equity
lien on the house that you now own. So when you sell it, they owe you both.
They know they're safe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you have to do some also math too. If you're buying it for 3, you think you can fix it up, flip it for, resell it for whatever you've put into it or something higher into it. Like I would assume there's some kind of looking at the market, because if you overpay, that's when you can get a little bit, not always screwed because you're getting someone to pay down the equity. But talk about some of those key metrics when you're trying to buy the house, because that's where I think it could get a little bit. That's where some of the risk would be, right? If you overpay, have to over-improve, major issues, things like that.
On the buying side, it's actually, we'll pay market or less, right? And the reason we can do that is we're going to get our term. So think of this. If I have a 10-year term on a property, my office building was 20, but if I have a 10-year term on a property, do I really care what the market's doing a few times in between? Because over 10 years, I'm super safe with that. So we don't have a set metric. It's going to be market specific. So I love when the media talks about the market's doing this or the market's doing this. There's no market. There's sub markets all over the country, right? So it just depends on that particular market.
So, so what's in your own journey of this? What's like I think the best way to build trust is here's a deal that went wrong and here's why. So maybe it doesn't happen as much anymore because you've really mastered it. But when does a deal go sideways?
No, it happens. It happens when we or a student gets too anxious to put a buyer in a home because they feel like the clock's ticking with getting it done for the seller. And we made those errors. So I remember back pre-COVID, we had to convert some of those and get them sold because we put a buyer in there that was not a deserving buyer that just needed time, but was a renter that had a mess in their life and they kind of wanted to someday maybe perhaps buy a house. So we had, in other words, we had a tenant, basically a glorified tenant. That's a headache and a half because then they'll either default or they'll stay in the house when they're defaulted. Now you're back to a regular eviction, like being a landlord, which defeats the whole purpose. That's why we do these. We don't want to be a landlord. We just want to be an owner. So that's the biggest headache that they can run into.
On a lease to own, they are effectively a tenant, even though it's a different structure. It's like the same eviction rights, all that apply typically.
Well, the back part of your sentence was what the headache is. Yeah. So our agreements say, okay, Thomas, you're the buyer. You're going to take care of this like you're a buyer. You're going to handle maintenance, repairs, etc. If you're true to your contract, you do that and you get your mortgage and you cash it out and everybody's happy. But the 2% or the 5% where we might have goofed or they have a life event and they don't pay and you go to get them out, it does revert to tenant law.
Yeah. That's a risk you'd always take. But the perfect tenant is someone who's like, hey, listen, I've W-2, I just got a new job, just whatever it is, and you're like, or they have mid credit, I'll say it that way. And it's like, you'd have to really look at their credit reports and be like, I had doctor bills and we've got it paid off now. And you can see it's gone from 400s to 5s to mid 6s.
Yeah, you got to have the story to your point because you're kind of saying that indirectly. Yeah, you got to have it, and we use a third party. So they go to the third party, and we come back with a mortgage ready report, 25 to 40 pages, saying here's why Thomas is in this position. Here's what the plan is to get him out, or hey, they just left their job and started their own biz. They just need 2 years if they keep everything in sync. And after
that one would be high risk.
That was way up. What was that?
That one would definitely be high risk.
Yeah, and they all can be if you don't follow the system, right? They all can be.
Well, I mean, what I like about that though is you're using a third party to help you in the system itself. And I think what I was trying to point out there is you can't. That's the people element is a big risk, right? Is you put the wrong person and the whole deal breaks. And now you got two people that one's not paying you and one wants money, and you're like, screw. Well, it just puts you in a tight bind, and that's not what you want to do. You want the deals that go smoothly. Is the ideal deal though, where someone comes in and within a year they finance themselves out of it and you bought it and you're on? Is it better to be quicker, or do you prefer one that actually goes the full term?
Trick question, because if it's quicker, they win, you sort of win, but if it's longer, your principal pay down and other paydays increase. So you got to do what's best for them. You got to go by the mortgage ready report and go to their goals and get them to the finish line. You really do, because you can't say, oh, well, it'll be more profitable if I delayed it. Because as life goes on and time goes on, there's more room for error for them too, right? And a life event to happen. If they can cash out, you move on.
Well, I mean, whenever you can collect, the cash, it allows you to potentially go do more deals too, right? So, so when you collect cash, since you're not putting money down, do you do something with that to further, like, is there a system to when you actually do this to go buy your own properties free and clear and do it? Like do you ever take it on yourself and say, hey, listen, I'm just going to own the whole thing, or what's the, or just collect money and keep going?
No, we collect money and keep going is a short answer, but we do teach the sort of the profits first system. Mike McAllowitz, I don't know if you're familiar with his work, but he designed that. And we teach profits first for real estate investors as like an offshoot. They're like Chicken Soup for the Soul of the book. And they did a profits first real estate investors. So we had a student that had someone pass away and put an illegal marijuana thing in the garage, like double whammy on a house. Well, he was smart the way we teach, and he put half of his payday one away. So when the house emptied, he had to pay one payment and he refilled it. He was fine. So if you don't run it like a business and run it smart, that could have been a headache for him if he spent all the money, but he didn't. He ran it through a profits first system and saved some.
Do you guys typically put each house in its own LLC and buy it that way, or how do you kind of structurally do that so you're protected home?
We actually, and I'll say this for the audience, this is not my legal advice by any stretch of imagination, but we typically do it by the state and then by the type of deal we do. So a lease purchase deal would sit in a different one than an owner financing one, but no, not for every single house. No need.
No need. Okay. What are the three deals? You talked about the free and clear, find that one. So maybe what are the three and what are the best from top to bottom?
Free and clear, we talked about. Subject to is the second one. We kind of talked about that with a combination of owner financing, but subject to. And then third is lease purchase. Lease purchase is the only one where you don't take title. You're controlling it. In our agreements, there's a whopping $10 deposit built into the agreement. You will control that property for $10 with a lease purchase, and you'll cloud title. You're protected. You just don't own it.
And what's the scenario that happens? Like, why would a seller do that with you?
Same scenario where you and I talked about your hypothetical house where you're going to sell to me for 300, you owe 100. I was going to buy it subject to, remember, and give you back a note for the difference. Some sellers go, I don't want to relinquish deed. And I go, okay, then we'll do a lease purchase. And lease purchase behaves similarly. I just don't take the deed. Stays in your name. I pay the underlying debt still, just like I would if I bought it. And then you'll get your 200 at the end of the lease purchase period.
Oh, so you're the lease purchaser yourself.
Yes, and then in our agreement, it gives us the right to put that rent-owned tenant buyer in there.
You can sub-lease purchase one more time down, and you're a pass-through. Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you ever run into a deal where it just makes sense to, hey, we're buying it for 180, and I'm trying to find a buyer immediately for 250, and you just flip it
it happens. My son had one recently where the tenant buyer defaulted, so we put back out for tenant buyer, and this couple fell in love with it, and the realtor kept calling my son saying, no, but they want to buy it. No, but they want to buy it. We just kept backing away, and they came up to our price where we were going to sell it rent to own, and we sold it conventionally. So yes, it has happened.
It does. So that's not off the table. If you can collect cash, right?
Do what you want. Yep.
Yeah. Awesome. I know you've had it up there, just conscious of time a little bit, who would you want to get a hold of you, and what's the best kind of way to do that?
Well, I want to make sure they all get the book. I don't know if you threw that up there, but it's just wickedsmartbooks.com. And I put the wrong link for you. It's wickedsmartbooks.com/Thomas and the number 1 versus the other one I gave you. So Wicked Smart.
I'm going to put it there. You know what? I'm one who says, just pay it forward. Just go to wickedsmartbooks.com, and less/Thomas is just way view of doing it. But you know what? Just buy his book and get on his class. Is that how you get to the class?
Well, that's actually free. I want to give it to everybody in your audience. So that's free, and it's a hard copy book. It's not put money in for shipping. It's free. I'll ship it out. We'll ship it out of this office. And then the master's class is free too. smartrealestatecoach.com/master's class. If you don't mind dealing with my hour-long New England talk.
So you might just put a Google translator on there. I'm like, what's he saying? I don't know. He sounds so wicked smart. Listen, this is so informative. And I know we kind of were compressed a little for some time for our schedules, but I got to tell you, I'm thinking about moving my podcast to 22. This is awesome. I got so much information. If you don't mind sharing, what could someone expect to invest in the group? The book, says, it's great lead, top of funnel, learn what we do from it. But what from a group, personal, can you walk me through the investment, just to kind of, so everyone has it on the same page coming out?
Yeah, we have an apprentice program right now that we just started, and it's by far the most value we've ever given. And it's like 16 grand worth of coaching and product. We do it for $1,000, and here's why we did it.
Wow.
Because it's insane. We just started like a month ago. Because we realized that the people that kind of get behind the curtain, so to speak, the green curtains, and understand our community, the light bulb goes off and they go, oh yeah, I didn't know you did all this. Well, some people that weren't able to financially get in never knew that. So let's expose it to everyone. Let's get more people doing deals. And we just started that, and it's overwhelmingly received. So it's $1,000. And then our heavier duty programs go anywhere from 5 grand to 10 grand. You can get involved as high as 100 grand. It just depends on what your goals are, how fast or slow you want to go, what your resources are, et cetera. So we'll custom do them for people. I put my link in there for a private call. That's with me personally. If you go, well, I don't know where I'd fit in that, then let's do a call. 15 minutes, we'll do a call. You'll know at the end of the call. And if you never talk to me again, at least I'll direct you.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I think the $1,000, if you really want to get in the game, you can blow that on a Grant Cardone thing and get upsold for 16 years after that from that whole group. Anyway, I have comments on that.
Side note.
Not that I've done it. I've had friends do it, and they're like, and I'm like, do you realize that is you're not only joining a religion and a cult. Anyway, I'm going to get out of that now. I'll stop. $1,000 just to get the resources of knowing if you knew nothing and you said, I'll figure it out myself, I don't need help, and you got at least to know where to go.
Yeah.
That's worth $1,000 just for that data entry point alone. Literally, that's a no-brainer. Awesome. Leave us with some final parting tips. There's other guys doing what you're doing to some degree. I've heard it, met with a few.
Yeah.
What should buyer beware? I always like to make sure people listen, if someone's doing this, and this, just take a step back And here's why. So, because I think this is really important, because there's a lot of nonsense in this space a bit. And
I think there is. I think the best thing is making sure, especially since the crash, making sure you have someone that you latch onto that has been through at least one, preferably two economic cycles. Because why? Because it's going to happen again. There's one constant in real estate. It changes and the economy changes. We get an election, things are going to change. So where are you going to lean on if someone just got started in real estate 6 years ago? Yes, I can teach you. No, you can't. Please have caution with that. And then secondly, I wouldn't just look at the shiny object of their success either. I look at the whole lifestyle, me personally, because I don't want to follow someone that had success, but they screwed up every relationship they've had, or they got a divorce, in my opinion. And so I'm not trying to step on anyone with that, but the fact is, look at the whole picture and see if that's something you want to latch onto.
I mean, one thing I talk about all the time is success, and success can be defined in a lot of ways. And if you can replace your W-2 income or what would have been it, you're absolutely crushing it. And like I always tell people, if you're an executive making $100,000 a year, you're not going to do that overnight in a business. Typically, it's going to like your career. It's going to take a little time. You might go a little faster because you got resources and knowledge and maturity now. At the same time, success is also defined of how much money do you want to make for today and tomorrow, and also how much time do you have to go fishing or with your family, or just to go for a bike ride and walk, or just not have to work for the week if you want to. And I think that is a really important metric from a stylistic piece. And if you're saying, listen, this could be a side hustle that you just trying to find that perfect deal once a year to make an extra 30K 4 years from now, awesome. Go kill it. Like low risk, you got it. No big deal. Awesome. You have nothing. You're not risking any of your home or anything else. So I appreciate your time. Thank you so much, Chris. Give me like 2 minutes to put you in the periwinkle room. There's no cookies or candies. I ate them.
Bummer.
I'll be right back. Let me say goodbye to everybody, but thank you so much for joining.
You bet.
Hey, listen, guys, I really appreciate everyone who's listened and made it to this point. If this was your first time here, I hope you come back. If you've been here before, you rock. Go check out Chris's stuff. I'll put it up here again. You just go to smartrealestatecoach.com, and he said Wicked Smart Books. Hopefully I didn't screw up this link. He said /Thomas, but if nothing else, go to Wicked Smart Books. It's free. Still ship it to you. So I know I'm going to go there and get one. Guys, I appreciate you listening. And anybody who's out there trying to become an entrepreneur, you got to have to learn some stuff. You're going to have to cut that tie to lots of things to unleash your entrepreneur. I've never been promoted in my job. I'll tell you right now, I was never intended to. I'm an entrepreneur at heart, and I love meeting other entrepreneurs. And if you do too, please check out the youtube.com/@neverbeenpromoted. Subscribe. If you are subscribing, you're watching, hit the bell, because we go live a lot out of nowhere. We kind of pop up live. Connect with me on LinkedIn. You can get on the show, you can complain, you can do all kinds of stuff through that as well. But I look forward to meeting everybody. Till we meet again, get out there and go unleash your entrepreneur. Thank you for